And our goal is to be profitable in 2024. You know, our projections are showing where that is attainable for us. So we're pushing like harder than anyone could imagine to get to that point.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Stuart Smith with SmallCapVoice.com, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our next guest, Zerify. Zerify is traded on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol ZRFY, and I am lucky enough to be joined not only by the CEO of the company, and that's Mark Kay, but also George Waller, who is an executive vice president for the company. This is a company whose time is right now. You cannot watch the news. You cannot run away from the statistics that are talking about how cybersecurity is at a paramount for everyone in business and personally. And guess what? We're doing a video interview. Well, because of video and because of COVID, everybody transferred to this platform and we needed a secure solution. Everyone needs a secure solution. So with that, let me introduce my guest to you today, CEO of the company, Mark Kay. Mark, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Stuart, and thank you so much for the intro. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And George Waller, Executive Vice President, wonderful to meet you as well, sir.
Pleasure, Stuart. Nice to meet you as well, and everyone else that's going to be watching this video.
Well, very good, gentlemen. So look, I deal with this platform all day long, whether it's Teams meetings, whether it's Zoom, whether it's through Google Meet and all these other different platforms. There are a lot of third-party solutions out there as well that companies are using. And we did see a pivotal societal shift through COVID, which put us all in our home offices. And we realized so many of us, hey, we can bring our burn rate down. We can cut overhead. But we lost a lot of that enterprise security solution software when we moved into our houses. And some of those businesses never really had it. So I'll start with you, Mark. Tell us a little bit about the solution and how we need to know about Zerify today.
Well, I'll actually let George start because he does a lot better job. So, George?
I appreciate that. Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Stuart. So, Stuart, as you started off saying that video conferencing is everything, right? Since the pandemic, industry has, in generally, they've moved their boundaries from having people come into offices to having remote workers, remote customers now. And for example, insurance companies, you no longer have to go into the insurance company. You can do everything over video conferencing. Court systems, you no longer have to go down to the courthouse. You can do everything over with your lawyer through video conferencing. So because of that, industries at large are now sharing all this very sensitive data, whether it's healthcare data, whether it's financial services, whether it's governments talking to contractors about military secrets. Everything is happening over video conferencing. And the interesting thing is that for years until the pandemic, just video conferencing, you didn't need security for it. But now that everything is being shared, all this, healthcare data, HIPAA, all this regulated information is being shared over it. Therefore, you need to have security. And Zerify, what we do is we specialize in having the industry's most secure video conferencing platform. In fact, a unique fact is that we are the first and only cybersecurity company that ever built a video conferencing platform. Zoom is not a cybersecurity company. Microsoft is not a dedicated cybersecurity company. Cisco is not a cybersecurity company, right? They're just, they're cloud companies or they're communication companies, but they're not cyber. When we built Zerify Meet, we built it from the ground up as a cybersecurity product. That's why companies like IT Novarica. That's why analyst firms like Forrester have written us up as the industry's most secure platform.
Well, that's exciting. And listeners, you may know this company already. Strikeforce Technologies is now Zerify. Let me spell that for you because I want you to go to their website. That's ZERIFY.com is the website. You could start your free trial right there. Gentlemen, you're our guest today. I'd like to learn a little bit about both of you. Just tell me a little bit about what brought you here today, Mark, and then we'll learn a little bit about George's background as well.
It's a good question as well. I used to work for JP Morgan before here, Matter of fact, I retired JP Morgan 26 years. And George had come in and talked to me through this lady and said, look, there's this great new company. We're starting to get into cybersecurity. We're looking at various different things. Why don't you come join us? And like a fool, I said yes, unfortunately. But here I am 23 years later and still trying to get this to work. But we have phenomenal solutions right now. And again, we're about to go live, and we'll talk about what's coming up in 24 later, and we'll discuss what is going live in the near future.
Very good. Yeah, we have that coming up. We're going to look a little bit back in the rearview mirror on 2023. We'll get the goals for 2024. But George, if you would, tell us what brought you here.
Well, I came from a background of cybersecurity and software. And when I met with the CTO, who was one of the partners in the company, he had introduced me to this concept of using the phone for authentication. And I was like, what? Using a phone for authentication? Back then, we used to all use like these little token dongles to log into like your VPN and stuff like that. And he came from Bell Labs. In fact, he was a chief scientist, a chief architect. And he says, you know, I have this concept that I've built of using a phone to authenticate. And I was like, what do you mean? And he says, well, imagine you dial into your VPN and from your house and your home phone rings, you pick it up and you authenticate on your phone. Essentially, you send in a password on a separate channel. You're not sending it over the internet, you send it over the phone network. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. He said, yeah, not only is it cool, but it's secure because you're separating the username from the password. You're sending them two separate channels. He said, you know, and everyone in the world has a phone. And as the mobile phone grows, well, guess what? More applicability. And you don't have to carry an extra device. So he said, you know, the world is moving in that direction. I was like, wow. And so we started the company over that to change the world and how people could authenticate in a more effective way, a more affordable way, a more convenient way. Well, we built that technology. And then what we did was we built a second technology, a keystroke encryption technology. So our CTO is a genius guy, right? He's an inventor, and he built these two technologies to stop both the bad guys from getting into the network and then stopping spyware, specifically keylogger spyware, from stealing anything that you type on your keyboard, whether it was on a mobile keyboard or a physical desktop keyboard or a laptop keyboard. So we built those two technologies and we distributed those technologies for years and years and years. And then when the pandemic hit, it changed the face of the world. Well, it also changed for us because we said, you know, the world needed something strong and for video conferencing, and there was nothing out there. That's when the CTO put his head together, you know, he wrapped his head around saying, you know, we can take what we have built and build a video conferencing platform based on those technologies and make the world's most secure platform, which is what we did.
Well, let's look back at the 12 calendar months then. Let's look back at 2023 and specifically maybe the latter half of 2023, because you just gave us a great background of how the company got to where it is today, George. But looking at the milestones in recent in the rearview mirror, what do you see as some of the achievements of the company? Obviously, you've rebranded from Strikeforce Technologies to Zerify. You've got a beautiful website. You've tapped into some major industries that you pointed out early on, whether it's financial, the healthcare one, of course, with the HIPAA rules and all that, that's massive, and government as well. But looking back, what are some of the major milestones you've been able to achieve?
Well, so one of the things you just brought up is we finished the branding. That took us about a year to go from Strikeforce, because realize 22 years as a company called Strikeforce, all of a sudden, you know, and you made authentication and keystroke and mobile security. Now you're going to Zerify, the brand, and you're now specializing in secure video conferencing. So that was a major rebranding thing. So the rebranding took quite an effort to do that. And thankfully, Mark found the right company to bring in and help us rebrand it. It's not just come up with a name, right? Because it's the image, it's getting out there, it's the messaging. And so we worked with this company that Mark found in the city that really helped us with all of that. But then it was more now, all right, great, we have a brand, we have a look, we have a feel, we have a message. Now it's, you got to get the people to distribute your technology. So a major accomplishment was signing on companies like TD SYNNEX. TD SYNNEX is the world's largest distributor. They have over 16,000 resellers. So that was a major accomplishment signing on them. And now what we're doing is working with their sales reps to identify the appropriate resellers in the appropriate towns and cities and states to now introduce our technology to that channel partner so that that channel partner can go to his customers, right? We're a smallish company, and obviously we don't have, we're not located in 50 states or in 50 countries. But when you use a distributor that is 16,000 resellers distributed across the countries, both countries and states, well, you leverage that distribution channel. So that was one. The second thing we also, another major accomplishment, is we signed up with Connect Us Wireless. They're one of the country's largest Verizon resellers, who has a distribution channel of 275 Verizon resellers that we're now working with to get our product into those Verizon resellers, and so that they can go to their existing customers, because what are they selling? Wireless services, connection services. So it's just natural that they sell our services. And then another major milestone is we signed a contract with a major white label partner that is getting ready to launch in a couple of weeks. And we've been working with them. They've been working on this for over a year now, getting ready for this launch that's happening, that's imminent launch. And they're going through, we can't discuss yet who they are until they physically launch, or the industry that they're in, but they expect to bring in, they expect to be bringing in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of partners that will be distributing our technology around the world. And it's very exciting because of how much we get on a monthly basis per user per month. So, the numbers add up pretty quickly. Mark has released some projections, and the projections are, both conservative, but, tremendous for driving shareholder value when people start to see the revenues that come in from this stuff.
Well, let me jump in right there then, because let me go ahead and go to the press wire. Listeners, use that ticker symbol again, ZRFY. February alone, you got a Seeking Alpha article write-up that covered what you already had told people through the news, which is fantastic. Zerify exchanges largest debt holder and essentially all warrants to equity. You eliminated nearly $1.7 million of debt through restructuring. You, of course, provided the shareholder update on key developments. All of this happened there in the month of February. Using that ticker symbol, you can go back and find it. So, George and Mark, looking forward 2024, what are some of the operational goals? This is a great time to speak to you because I'm looking at these contracts starting to roll out. This is where the rubber hits the road for your company. So I'm expecting to hear, hey, we've built this foundation over the last decade. We rebranded over the last year. 2024 is what?
It's the year it all goes live. Finally, I should say finally, because we were hoping to go live last year, but we didn't quite make it. But definitely this is it. I mean, the restructuring we did is huge. It's not a simple thing. And it took us many months to get that organized. I mean, we shared over 13 billion of warrants, right? Moved into our, preferred C and preferred D shares, and therefore, and they're not going anywhere right now. And we did a lot of work on that, and that definitely cleans up our balance sheet tremendously. So, and then $1.7 million was the largest debtor we had in our books, and he's now not there anymore. And he actually owns a large part of the preferred shares, but that again gets him out of the limelight and gets him out of our hair. And we actually can move forward now with a very clean slate of all these debtors that are not no longer on us at this point.
Well, guys,
So we
let me jump in there too, because I think we have some shareholders and potential shareholders who may not understand the magnitude of that. When you move them into that preferred, that means they're going to be locked up and held to rules of 144. Is that correct?
Well, they are locked up in the rules 144, but again, they're able to sell right away, but they're not going to because of where the prices are.
Okay.
So they're not going to be selling anything for quite a while. And we're in trip zeros. Trip zeros, you know, most of the brokers will not touch.
Exactly.
So
They
they're
won't
not
allow
going
you to trade that.
anywhere, and that gives us a clean runway to get these things going and to do other things in the future. So the good news is our patents, for instance, we have 12 patents. People forget. We're actually working very hard on those patents. And next year, we feel is a great opportunity to leverage with some companies we are now working with and talking to, including today, to get these patents leveraged and out there, because, you know, we feel people are, you know, definitely violating our patents, and we have some proof to show that. So we think this will be a great year in terms of the patents, in terms of the restructuring, in terms of where the company is, and then we can move this company forward.
George, let me let you jump in there. I know you're chomping at the bit to tell us about operationally what we can expect for the company here in 2024 as well.
Yeah. I mean, I was ready to go, and Mark said some of the things I was going to say.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously, one of the biggest things for us is we get all this. We get these new launches going. We get the distribution channels selling, right? And our goal, obviously, is to be profitable. Right? Because that's what our shareholders want. That's why we're here. And our goal is to be profitable in 2024. You know, our projections are showing where that is attainable for us. So we're pushing like harder than anyone could imagine to get to that point. But to also say something that Mark, to reiterate something that Mark said, you know, over the years, one of the greatest things that Mark said is, you know, we got to protect all of our technology. We got to protect it. We got to get patents. And so, you know, we fared very well. You know, it's in our public records that in 2016, you know, we settled a major patent lawsuit, and you know, at the time, Strikeforce, you know, made millions and millions and millions of dollars on it. And now, and that was just one patent that we have. We now have 12 patents, and those patents are both US and internationally that Mark oversaw all of that. And, you know, one of the things that he wants to do, and I believe very highly in it, is he wants to monetize those patents. As he was alluding to, we've come across that there are quite a few people that are potentially stepping on our patents that we're going to speak to. You know, we're interviewing attorney firms right now that can handle both patent licensing as well as litigation, right? You start off on the good side. Hey, you know, we've seen that you've applied for patents and that they've been denied because of our patents. Obviously, you feel the responsibility. You feel it's important to protect your application or your, you know, your what you're doing, and we have the patents that can help you do that. So you do it from the friendly side first, right? Mm-hmm. But if that doesn't work out, it's, hey guys, guess what? You know, enough's enough. We've got to do a license, or we've basically got to litigate. So we are interviewing. Mark's lined up a cadre of organizations for us to interview so that we can monetize what he spent so much time and money for over the years in building. So that's a very important aspect. It's not just what we're doing moving forward. We have all this intellectual property that is now coming into its time and its prime as well. So we have to be able to monetize that as a separate revenue stream for the company. And so that's something that we haven't talked very much about, but it's in the process.
Well, I'm glad you're talking about it here with us today. I appreciate it very much. We're speaking with Mark Kay. He's the CEO of the company, and George Waller. He is the Executive Vice President for the company. Guys, an amazing interview with you today. Thanks so much for making time for us here today at Small Cap Voice.
Thanks for the opportunity, Stuart. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stuart. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, make sure you add this company to your watch list. That ticker symbol again, ZRFY. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and also feed us your comments. Tell us what you'd like to see from this company. Let us know your thoughts on the company. We are here to respond to you, the shareholder. For Mark and George, this is Stuart saying thanks so much for tuning in.